All right. Okay. I guess so, if nobody's telling me otherwise. All right. Shalom, my friends. So this evening, the topic for tonight is reincarnation. And so I want to begin, though, with you guys and just give a quick 1-minute review of certain things we spoke about last week. Now, last week, we went into a deeper way of looking at the story of Adam Arishon, of Adam, right? And we spoke about the whole sin of the Garden of Eden. We spoke about what it meant for him when he ate from that tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we spoke about the idea that the tree of knowledge of good and evil is really very different than the way a lot of us perceive it, a lot of us been taught it. And really the fundamental flaw that we have is in translation. That we translate the word, in Hebrew it's Eitz Hadat Tov V'Ra, and we translate that as the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We translate the word Da'at as knowledge, but that really ends up giving us the reverse of what really was meant in the whole story, because the way we interpret it is like, okay, they have Adam and Eve and they were all ignorant and ignorance is bliss and all that, and God didn't want them to be smart or something. And then instead they go ahead and eat from the tree because they are pursuers of knowledge and truth. And they, like, in a way of almost like trying to defeat God or something like that. And turns out that it didn't work out so well for them, right? And so, but it's a big misunderstanding, because the word dat does not mean knowledge in the way we usually talk about knowledge, right? A lot of times we speak about knowledge, and we speak about knowledge and we think it's like, okay, look, I didn't know enough information about history, but then I got more knowledge. I read a book about history and now I got more knowledge about history. No, that's not what we mean. What we're talking about when we say dat in Hebrew is dat is a combination, is a word in Hebrew of connection. Vayida Adam et Chava ishto. Adam knew his wife, even they had a kid, right? It's not different. It's not as like, learning history book, right? It means an intimate experiential connection of two into one. Intimate experiential coming together of two into one. And so we find that when we read that interpretation, which is the true interpretation, into the text, it changes everything. Eitz Hadat Tovara means the tree of coming together of good and evil, which means pre-sin in the Garden of Eden, things were clear. There was good, there was evil, there was right, there was wrong. Adam was clear he was a soul, and that he had a body which took him around from place to place so he could get done what he needs to get done in the world. And so, of course, he values the body, takes care of it, takes it into its yearly inspection like a car, right? Fills it up with the gas and the fuel it needs, and hopefully good quality, right? Takes care of it, values it, but it's not him. That's pre-sin. But when Adam goes ahead and eats from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, meaning the tree of the connection, the coming together of good and evil, now all of a sudden he creates a blurry, things are not as clear anymore. He creates a gray area. Now you can call black white, you can call white black, you can call good evil, you can call it evil good. You could wake up, look in the mirror, and you could say, that's me, and maybe I have a soul, right? As opposed, like the soul is as if the soul is the possession, and the thing you see in the mirror is your essential identity, right? And this is one of the downfalls. And this is why the Torah said, well, this is why God told Adam, look, if you eat from the tree that I tell you not to eat from, if you eat from the tree that connects good and evil, that brings the good and evil together, that blurs the distinctions of good and evil, so you shall surely die, right? Why? Because what's dying? Dying is the separation of the soul from the body. That God says, look, the whole goal is I want you to have a connection with me. And the prerequisite is that you got to know who you are. And if you eat from this tree, there's going to be a lot of confusion as to who you really are and what you really are. And so therefore, if you eat from this tree, I'm going to have to forcibly at some point, you're going to have to go through a process of forcible separation of the soul from the body in order to realign your consciousness with the reality that you are the soul and not just the body. And so essentially what it comes down to is that death is God's basically playing spiritual doctor over here and saying, look, there's a if it's like, it's like a doctor. If the doctor said, you listen, if you want to continue to smoke 2 packs a day, at some point I'm going to need to, do a little bit of a lung transplant over here. right? Nothing personal. This isn't, I'm not telling you I'm going to put the smack down on you. My ego isn't offended because you didn't listen to me when I told you not to smoke. It's just, this is matter of fact, what I'm going to need to do in order to keep you alive, right? So similarly, this is the story. Similarly, this is the spiritual story of this in the Garden of Eden. Now, one of the effects of Adam eating from this tree was that there was a little bit of there were, according to Kabbalah, one of the effects of it is that there is now a splintering of his soul, a fragmentation of his soul. And let's understand what we mean by that, okay? You see, the thing is, a lot of times when we think about Adam, we think about some guy, some dude, or if you want to get all genealogical, you can say, oh, Adam, he's my great, 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 great grandpa. But Kabbalistically, we understand that Adam was not just your great, 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 great grandpa. Adam, the idea of Adam is the all-encompassing universal soul of humanity, right? And so when Adam goes ahead and does this sin in the Garden of Eden, there is a fragmentation of those souls. There's a fragmentation of those souls, right? And there's a fragmentation of his soul into numerous souls, right? And that's what the human race really is. And so let's understand what the difference was between one holistic soul called Adam versus numerous souls that are, manifesting themselves through numerous bodies, right? One difference is that, and by the way, my friends, feel free to chime in at any time, thoughts, questions, ideas, whatever you'd like. This does not have to be a one-way street, all right? So one difference is that through this fragmentation, so the unique characteristics of the individual souls can become more refined, expressed, and apparent, right? That is one major difference. And let's just be clear also, when we're talking about this fragmentation of the soul of Adam, let's just be clear that that doesn't mean that truly it is fragmented, right? There is a holistic reality here that Adam is still one. We are all still one at our core. However, the expression of us is what's fragmented, right? It's very much like electricity. Okay, electricity is one at its core, yet the way it manifests itself is by way of the vehicles of manifestation of electricity. So for example, if you have a washer, if you have a dryer, if you have an air conditioner, if you have a heater, if you have an oven, if you have a refrigerator, these are all manifestations of electricity. You wouldn't say it's dividing and cutting up and fragmenting electricity, right? But what you're saying is that it's not that electricity changed. No, electricity is one. Electricity is simple. Electricity is, holistic for the purpose of our example here. But the way that it's expressed and manifest is determined by the kli, is determined by the vessel by which it's being expressed and manifest. So similarly is what goes on when Adam goes ahead and messes up and does this sin. And there's a fragmentation of that original holistic soul of Adam. And now by way of the numerous bodies, so all of the different aspects of that soul of Adam can go ahead and manifest themselves in a unique and individualistic way, and yet still at their core retain that oneness, okay? And not only that, that's one difference. Let me give you also one practical difference and one practical purpose of fragmentation. Is very simple. When Adam goes ahead and does the sin, so let's just be clear. If Adam goes ahead and makes the correct choice, right, and he doesn't eat from this tree until later on when he was really ultimately going to be able to, and he eats, and he does what he's supposed to do. So then Adam would have been, that soul would have been uplifted. His soul would have been perfected. He would have achieved greatness in the world. He would have elevated the world. Right? Because what we know about Adam is that the entire world, every aspect of creation is connected to Adam. That's according to Kabbalah, that's what it means when God says to Adam, when God says to all of creation, Na'aseh Adam, let us make man. Well, who is God talking to? Does God need someone's help? No. Kabbalistically, we understand that that's God talking to every aspect of creation, that every aspect of creation should put of itself into Adam, into the original person, and God will, so to speak, add the soul, the spiritual component, and then human being will have free will choice, and then through human being's free will choice, if it goes, to the extent he chooses good, so then all of creation is uplifted with Adam, right? However, of course, if Adam goes the other way, it brings down the downfall to all of creation, right? And so really, so Adam could have gone ahead and chosen for the positive, would have lifted everything up. Instead, though, Adam goes ahead, chooses the other way, and brings things down. So that's the thing people, by the way, don't understand. A little tangent over here. People think that Judaism says, okay, we have free will, and therefore people think like, okay, I come into this world, here I am, I'm 20 years old, I'm 30 years old, I'm whatever age I am, and so I got free will, so it's like I'm 50-50, I could go to the good, I could go to the bad. That's not really what Judaism is saying. Adam is created at a level of 50-50. Totally clear on who he is, that he's a soul, and yet also has other pulls and rationalizations going in other directions. That's not, but that was Adam. He's created in that state of equilibrium. Adam then goes ahead and does the sin, and now all of a sudden the free will that we have is very, very different. The free will that we have isn't 50-50 anymore. Now it's more like 10-90. 10 to the side of good, 90 to the other side, to the side of disconnection. Why? Because we're so out of touch with the reality of who and what we are. And so if Adam would have gone ahead and made the correct choices and done good and all of that, so he would have lifted everyone and everything. There was no everything, let's say it like that. However, Adam does not go ahead and make that choice. Adam goes and chooses the other way. Now, if he was so clear on himself, on who he is and what he is, so why would he always ever choose to go the other way? Okay, that was last week's class. We spoke about that last week. See the recording. I'm sure we can somehow link it to something, Facebook Live, whatever. Fine, not for now. However, Adam goes ahead and goes the other way. And so now the world is in a state that needs to be rectified, right? We're in a state of non-clarity, right? And so we need to rectify that, just like we know that the sin, which was initiated by the Nachash, the snake, we know that Nachash, on the one hand, is a gematria, numerical value of the word Nachash, of a snake, is 358, which is the same numerical value as the Hebrew word for Mashiach, Messiah, right? That's the two sides of the same coin, right? Meaning to say that we want to turn things around and elevate and uplift things to that level of Mashiach, right? And so the question then is, what's the easiest way to do it, right? Imagine, so basically the idea is that the splintering, the fragmentation of the soul of Adam, what does it achieve? One thing it achieves is that it opens the door to make it easier for us to rectify the spiritual downfall that was caused by that sin of Adam in the Garden of Eden. How so? Because imagine that, like, basically, since that sin in the Garden of Eden, there's like this boulder, there's this big burden that needs to be, let's say, moved from one place to another. So imagine you can have one person put a boulder on his back and move it from one place to another, or imagine you can shatter that boulder into a bunch of different fragments, and then you can have a person bring each piece of that boulder from that one place to the other place. Which one would be easier? Obviously, please tell me you're still with me. Obviously, what would be easier is for numerous people to bring numerous people to bring different fragments of that boulder from one place to another. And so this is what Hashem, God, hooks up, arranges for us to open the door for us to do what's called tikkun, for us to do a fixing, a rectification on the soul, on what happened with Adam. And so let's be clear, though, it's not that we are stuck fixing something our great-great-great-great-grandpa Adam did. No, what we're saying is that, no, we are each an aspect of that original, holistic, universal, all-inclusive soul of Adam. And so now it's intrinsic within each of us is the opportunity and responsibility to go ahead and rectify the piece of that sin of Adam that we were a part of, because each of us are soul sparks of that original soul of Adam. You hear that idea? And so really this is the idea that all of the souls throughout history, and we'll get more into this, but all the souls throughout history essentially, and there is an exception to this, I'm not going to get into it, but for as far as we can talk about here, all the souls throughout history essentially are the same, go back to that original soul of Adam, and therefore the word for reincarnation in Hebrew, Gilgul, is the same numerical value in Hebrew as the words in Hebrew, Haya, Hoveh, V'yihiyeh, was, is, and will be, because the same souls that were are the same souls that are, and are the same souls that will be. And so this is so this is the idea. Let's go a little bit deeper into it, right? This also explains everything we're saying here. Also explains why we find, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, one of the great Kabbalists who actually lived around the corner from me for not too long, actually. He died pretty quick after he got to Israel. But he didn't actually live around, he lived around the corner, but a couple hundred years ago, not in my lifetime, just to clarify. So this is one reason why according to him, we see that in the beginning of the Torah, if you look at the beginning of the Torah, you find that the people lived for like hundreds of years. You find people living for a few hundred years, 300 years, 500 years, 600 years, 900 years. And now, of course, we know that the lifespan is basically referred to as 70 to 120. And so the question is, what happened, right? But the Or HaChaim HaKadosh explains, here's what happened, the beginning of the time. So a person, Adam, did this and that he did, but then afterwards, so he has kids. Those kids live for, let's say, a number of hundreds of years. But what happens? Imagine, so they have, let's say these are big souls. And so because they're big souls, they're given more time to do the things that they need to do. Because remember, all of these souls, of course, are aspects of that soul of Adam. But they're bigger, you could say. They're bigger souls, which means they have more to do, more to fix. And if there's bigger souls and they have more to fix, so then they have more time, more energy, more battery pack, so to speak, in order to go ahead and to fix what they need to fix. However, if you're living for 500 years, if your average lifespan of the time and the general vibe and energy of that time is that people are going to live 500 years, 400 years, 700 years. So what tends to happen? You tell me. If you feel like if you have a task to do and you feel like you have forever to do it, so when are you going to do it? If you feel like, I got 700 years, when are you going to do it? When are you going to start thinking about it? Right? Probably about 697, right? You're going to procrastinate, right? Natural. And so anyway, point is that the people weren't getting it done. And so what did God do? God ended up essentially reincarnating these souls as small, breaking down these souls into smaller souls in order, and thereby shortening the energy and lessening what they have to do and shortening the energy of the soul, right? Smaller souls means less time, but also less to do. But what did that do? That made it easier for them to do it, and also kind of the mortality of a person was felt much more. And so this is what happened. So it's essentially like this, okay? I got a little, I came prepared for you guys today. Check this out, okay? I got a little board over here. Hold on, I didn't come prepared like, high tech, nothing to share on the screen or anything as wonderful as that. But here we go. I got my little board and marker here for y'all. I'm gonna see how this works here, okay? So imagine here you got this soul called Adam. You got a soul called Adam. Hold on a second. Let's see how we can do this. Let me lower it. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, that helps a little bit. We got the soul called Adam. I'm going to make it into a circle, right? So then Adam breaks down to all of these souls, right? And these are the souls you find at the beginning, at the beginning of creation. Never mind. It's a weird shape. Let it go. Okay. And so they're big circles, big souls, right? But then what happens? They don't do what they're supposed to do. They're living 500 years, 700 years, 800 years. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So what happens? So then God hooks it up that they break down into smaller souls. So when they come, they don't finish what they need to finish. So they need to come back. Right. And so they break down into smaller souls, right? And so as they break down into smaller souls, again, less soul energy, if you will, therefore less time in this world, but also less to do. So feeling more motivated to do it, hopefully, right? By the way, this also explains why you can meet someone and you never met them before, and you can feel very close to them. You can feel like two peas in a pod. See that there, right there? You can have that feeling of kind of deja vu, even though you never met them before. Why? Because it could be that you have a previous experience with them from previous time, from previous life. It could be that they're somehow connected to your soul root. By the way, there's also the idea that a person can have a soul root, as you can see, that you're a piece of or you're a branch of. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. But anyway, by the way, let's also clarify another thing. People a lot of times will ask, well, hold on a second. There's this belief in Judaism called Tchiyat HaMetim, or Tchiyas HaMesim, right? Which is the resurrection of the dead. That's different than reincarnation, by the way. That at the end of time, there's going to be a resurrection of the dead, that people are going to come back. Now, hold on a second. So hold on a second. If there's reincarnation, who am I coming back as? Ever wonder that one? People ask me that one all the time with this class. Right, wait, so hold on. If I was here before and I'm here, who's coming back? Hold on a second. So there's numerous different answers. There's numerous different answers to this question. I'm going to give you the one that I like the best, okay? And that is like this. Let's draw it out a little bit, okay? Let's say I take one of these souls right here, okay? I'm going to take him out of the whole situation, and we're going to zero in on him, all right? Hold on a second. I'm going to erase this. I should have brought tissues. I didn't plan so well. All right, here we go. So let's say I have one of those little souls that were there before, okay? But I'm going to make him big, okay? Now, let's say this guy, he goes into a body, and this guy, he has this amount of soul energy. He also has this amount to fix. Let's say he lives his 70 to 120 years, okay? Or if you want to go back further, even longer, right? And he fixes and rectifies half of what he needs to do, right? So imagine this is the size of the soul, but let's also assume this is the size of what needs to be completed and fixed and rectified. He fixes half of what he's supposed to do, right? That's person number one. Now, let me ask you a question. When this person comes back to, when there's a reincarnation, so what aspect of here is going into the body number two? This is body number one. Anyone want to chat in? What is going into number two? Into body number two. Whatever isn't done, right, Rivka? That's the standard understanding. So meaning to say, when this guy, throughout his 70 to 120 years, Mr. Number One, when number one woke up every morning and looked in the mirror and said, me, he was referring to this entire circle, right? However, Mr. Number Two, so when number two is being created, it's really all of this is all that's going into number two. Okay? And he wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror, and he says, me, hopefully thinking about his soul, even though probably not, right? So when he says me, this is him, right? Now, of course, he has a certain attachment to this too, and ultimately to the bigger soul behind that, and ultimately all the way back to Adam. But first and foremost, he's saying just this part, okay? Now, let's say this guy finishes half of what he is supposed to do, right? So now that's number two. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, trying to make it higher here. Right, so we got guy number two over here. Sorry about the horrible writing. I don't know. So hold on a second. I used the P word, Leo. All right, hold on a second. So when this guy, when he goes, so this guy, so now there's still something left. So when who's number three? Again, like we said before, guy number three is going to be whatever's not done, right? This part goes in, and hopefully, let's say this guy completes what he's supposed to do, and so number three, let's say, polishes it off. Okay, so now, resurrection of the dead. Who's coming back? So I'm going to give you the answer that I like. There's a couple of answers to this. Yeah, it might be one of them. That might be so. Who is that? Yeah, so all of them. Why? But it's not about all of them. Because what if there's number 3 did nothing, and then he would come back, and number 4 would finish it off. Would number 3 come back? Not so sure. Not so sure. Because the idea is like this: whatever body the soul got, whatever amount of soul, whatever soulness got the fixing that it needed, or did the fixing that it needed to do in that body, that's the soul that's enlivening that body. Does that make sense? I said that pretty, not in the best way. I don't know what the best way is to say it. But whichever body hosted the soul, let's say it like that. Sounds a little bit alien, I don't know. But whatever body hosted the soul for whatever the fixing is that got done, whatever speck of soul did the fixing it needed to do and perfecting it needed to do and uplifting it needed to do by way of a particular body, that soul or that aspect of soul enlivens that body. Does that make sense? Are you with me so far? Sorry, let me put the number 3 up here. Now, hold on a second. I saw there was a couple of chats here. Let me try to get to those chats. Hold on a second. Okay, 9 chats? That can't be. All of them. All is one. Are we punished for past life if women? Oh man, someone's into some punishing over here. All right. Only if you completed tikkun, you have a resurrection rights. Nice. Okay, very good. So the body that completed the soul mission. Yes, the body through which the soul completed its mission. Right. So if the soul completed at different parts in different places, then it'll come back. That's right. Also, this also explains certain things, for example, about things that seem to at first not make certain amount of sense. For example, God forbid a kid dying young, right? Especially before ages of responsibility and stuff like that. Why? Because something needed to be done. There's 2 ways we make change, by the way. 2 ways we make change. We make change by proactively going ahead and making changes, or we can also undergo certain things that change us. Either one are ways that we rectify what we need to rectify, or have that happen upon us, whether we proactively do it or it happens to us. And so sometimes that can be a situation why things happen. By the way, yes, this also does answer the question of why do things happen that sometimes we don't understand. Why do bad, quote unquote, bad things happen to good people and all that kind of stuff. There is an aspect of a person that, yes, a person can have certain things undergo because of stuff that they were involved in previously. That is true. All of that stuff is true. You see, so one of the things we have to, anytime we're talking about suffering and death and also reincarnation, we have to remember that life does not start at birth and life does not end at death. That's one of our big misconceptions. We have to really get in touch with that. That life doesn't start with birth and life doesn't end with death. That is a piece of a much bigger puzzle. So you think you're, some of you guys 20 years old, 30 years old, whatever. Really, who knows? Maybe you're, 1,500 years old. Don't know. So, and it's just a window. It's just a piece of the story, just a piece of the process. You had your kid years, you had your teenage years, you had your 20s, you had your 30s, right? So you remember those, right? But you also had your first life, second life, third life, whatever, right? Okay. So this is something important to remember. Now, in addition to this, also, let me add to this as well. And I know I've touched on some of the questions that have been asked. I haven't touched on some of the other questions that are asked. I'm not sure this woman in reincarnated. I'm not so familiar with that one, but fine. So that's why I'm not commenting about that. Not familiar with that. But what I want to say, so there's something else that is a little known fact, something called an ibur neshama. An ibur neshama. What does ibur mean? Ibur means, this is a different kind of reincarnation. Usually, there you go. Usually, when we think about reincarnation, we think about the way we're talking about now, and that is the standard way of discussing reincarnation. No problem, totally legit. However, there's also another thing, which is called ibur neshama, which is that that a soul can come down and attach itself to your soul for a temporary amount of time in order to be a part of something you're doing or to help you out in something you're doing and then leave. This is one reason, for example, why people go to the graves of tzaddikim. Actually, there's an idea that the soul of a tzaddik can come down and be attached itself to you, and a boost of sorts. There you go. That's right. And to help you do it, if you ever see anyone who goes through a radical just change, like they change their direction in life in a major way, it could be that they had a moment of an ibur neshama. Also, for the soul, by the way, for the soul that comes down to help you out, it's also positive for them. It's a way that they can be involved in actions in this world and better their standing upstairs as well if they do something positive here in this world. Because, a lot of times a soul that's upstairs already, it's out of the realm of free will choice. It can't really elevate its standing that much. But by coming down here and attaching itself to you and helping you out, so it can. So by the way, also, so that could be done by really any soul, but it's more common to be done by something that you're connected to. So either it's a tzaddik you're connected to, so it could be a higher level of soul of your own soul. It could be something that was like, imagine you're at person number 2 over here. It could be that person number 1 or soul number 1, that part that was connected to you, that will come down and attach itself to you for a certain amount of time in order to help you and boost you up as well. All sorts of possibilities. By the way, also, it could be that someone who did not have the opportunity to do a mitzvah in this world, and you're about to do that mitzvah, it could be that soul will come down for that moment in order to attach itself to you, in order to actually take part in a mitzvah it did not have the opportunity to do. So, for example, Pidyon Haben. For example, there's a mitzvah called redemption of the firstborn. That if a person has a firstborn boy, if a person has a firstborn boy from a woman who never had, from a woman who never had a kid before or a miscarriage before, anything like that, there's something called redeeming the firstborn. But that's, not everyone gets that opportunity. Why? Because that's life. And so therefore, when a person is going to go ahead and do that, there could be other souls that attach themselves to such a person in order to take part, to have the schut, the merit of taking part in that mitzvah. Another interesting example also, they say, is divorce as well. Divorce is technically a mitzvah, something that you're allowed to do, right? It's something that it's part of the Torah. It's one of the 613 commandments. Under certain situations, not commanding you to get divorced, but the person has the option to get divorced. However, situation doesn't always call for it, right? Hopefully that's one of those things that people, right? Hopefully, the situation doesn't call for that. Okay, so then it could be that a person attaches them, that is another soul attaches themselves to someone who is about to go ahead and perform that mitzvah when they themselves did not get the quote unquote opportunity to perform that mitzvah, right? And so that's an interesting thing. But so that's for the good of the soul that's coming down, but also for Arga, there's this idea that a person can be attached to that. A person can get attached. A person can have that happen for them also for Busan. Yes, this is one of the reasons why people pray at the graves of righteous people and things like this. So we've said a lot here. Questions, thoughts, ideas, what say you? Oh, wow, we really pounded all that out. It's only 9:04, my time. Let's see, hold on a second. We still get credit for the mitzvah because they helped you to do it, or stam for riding your back, right? He gets a piece he gets either a little bit of both for Rivka. Very good. He has a shituf, he has a partnership, he has a connection to it. Did he help to do it? Yeah, maybe he helped to do it, maybe not, but there's a certain connection that he has that he takes part of the mitzvah. He takes a part in the mitzvah. I don't know the story of the Bai and orphan that you're talking about right now. Apologies. There are no restrictions on women. A guy claimed was stated by the rest of a Rebbe. Okay, so I don't know anything about that, Lior. Sorry. So the body completed the soul's mission. Yes, Shirel, awesome. Only if you complete it, you can have the resurrection. Okay, that's what we said before. Other questions, thoughts, ideas? What say you, my friends? I'm gonna end this one very early. Keep going. I don't have anything to say. This is all I really wanted to say. I don't know. I zoomed through it. All right, fine. We'll give you some. Give you another one that'll be a little freakish. I don't know. I wasn't planning on mentioning it, but here we go. Good. Got interrupted. When we are finished, do we become like Adam or like dissolve? No. So the idea is that look. We are Adam. We are aspects of Adam. At the end of the day, like we said, at the end of the day, I didn't see Cheryl. I didn't see your question. I have to look at it again. Sorry. At the end of the day, we are aspects of Adam. So in the end, hopefully, we retain our individual. In the end of the day, we retain our individual identity, but we're still aspects of the whole, aspects of Adam. So we end up with a little bit of both. We have the holistic side of ourselves called Adam, and then we also have the individualistic side of us called Rivka or Shirel or Eliyahu Yaakov, that's me, or Sarah Rachel, or whoever else is on here. Hold on, let me see what else was on here. Wait, my last question. Shirel, where's your question, Shirel? Hold on. Oh, there we go, hold on. So just the part of the soul that didn't fulfill its mission comes down. It's just this. Then how can we still feel connected to the other parts? Because at your core, you're still, so Shirel, to answer your question, because at your core, you are connected to that. Right, you are connected to that at your core. It's just this is the part that's manifesting and expressing right now. There is a connection there, although there is a part of you that isn't feeling so connected right now. But that's because here in this world, we tend to have a difficult time feeling our soul. That's one of the effects of the sin in the Garden of Eden. What's called zuhamat hanachash, the venom of the snake. That one of the things having to do with the venom of the snake is the fact that we don't feel the value of a mitzvah, and we don't feel the pain or the burning of a sin. We don't feel it as much. We have a very hard time feeling it, right? Whereas opposed to chocolate ice cream, that no problem feeling that, right? Imagine though if it was reversed. That's how it was. Pre-sin, it would seem. Let me check out more of your comments. Hold on a second. What about families who expect to reconnect with soul 1 and soul 2? Okay. What about families who expect to reconnect with soul 1 and soul 2? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. What about families who expect to reconnect with soul 1 and soul 2? I'm sorry, Leora. Can you expound on that, Leora? I'm not quite understanding what you're trying to say. Maybe maybe we can open it up to anyone, to Vivian, maybe we can open it up to people if people want to get on the mic. I don't know what you guys are holding with that these days. So yeah, Rivka, according to what you're saying, yes, the fact that we are desensitized right now. Okay, thanks. The fact that we're desensitized right now, Rivka, to certain spiritual things sometimes is what opens the door for us to get way more quote unquote spiritual credit because of the striving that we do for our relationship with God. Therefore, that does strengthen our relationship because of the striving that is needed now to make spiritual choices and decisions and override the good side of ourselves, to override the side of ourselves that are pulling in other directions, right? Which explains why Adam really did what he did, even though he was clear on the fact that what he's doing is to essentially jump into a fire. But he saw the opportunity in doing something negative, opening the door to us having to really strive in order to do something positive, but will make positive stuff much more worthwhile. That's not a decision I recommend to anybody. If you're looking for struggles, don't worry. We already have plenty of them. No need to add to that. So just putting that out there. Leora, you want to jump in with?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I mentioned Olam Haba because I was told that in Olam Haba, everybody reunites with their families, whoever it was, and they recognize each other through the souls, not necessarily through their corporal bodies. So what happens if soul number 1 and soul number 2 disappear? I was told that all the souls come back.
Yeah, I wasn't saying souls. I was saying bodies.
Right, but what happens to soul number 1 and 2 that still stay in heaven or whatever, in Gan Eden? And they didn't come down, and then only the third one gets redeemed? I don't understand that. So what happens to 1 and 2? They just disappear, or they get merged together, and then all 3 generations recognize, that merged soul as their loved ones, or what? How does it work?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So you can have a soul. Firstly, all this stuff is all like, we need to talk. All this stuff is very flowy. We need to talk. The only way we can speak about anything is to have rigid ways of speaking. But like, you have let's say a person has their identity as you can keep numerous relationships at the same time. But so you have the soul. That's what I was referring to there was what we call resurrection of the dead, right? Later on. But there's definitely, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to say. The relationships certainly can be recognized. Yes, you recognize people by soul for sure. Go ahead, expound, keep talking. I'm not
okay. So I'm sorry. I did hear before the concept. I actually heard this from Chabad, that part of each soul comes back down again, that we're only so many souls, and a part of each soul keeps coming down for the rest of the tikkun. But I was told that all of them actually go back and they become individual souls, and that it's not that only the last one who came down and finished the tikkun is the one who merits to hang around or whatever. Because I was told all of us in the end up in Gan Eden, and we recognize each other by our souls, and we get to see then the real size of the soul by the midot, the mitzvot that the person performed during their lifetime or lifetimes or whatever.
yeah.
And also, when you're answering that, if you can tell me, is a soul male or female, or it doesn't matter, based on that other comment that Breslover made to me. But he's about so.
Wait, so look, just to address the first thing, yeah, I'm not saying anything in conflict with that. But I wasn't saying that only the third. I wasn't saying that only the third person sticks around and everyone else is like no longer. I didn't intend to say that. I was saying that I was saying that each soul comes into comes back to a body or an like kind of a supercharged version of the body within which they fixed themselves, right? So assuming that a person did something positive or something happened to them that caused a positive change during their life, so that aspect of soul will enliven that body.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So now, okay, in terms of the male female thing, I'm not sure what you're referring to, so I can't. I don't know what to say.
Does the soul have a gender?
It's a
I
good
thought the soul
question.
can come back either way, as a male or a female, or even as an animal or whatever. I was told.
Well, yeah, I didn't get to the animal stuff. Though. We'll see if that happens. But the animals. Firstly, the animal thing is not considered to be like you come back and that's good. Like the animal thing is a something a person goes through for a temporary amount of time. If God forbid they need to go through that, that's considered to be a painful thing. That's not like, oh yeah, I'll come back as a horse, it'll be awesome, I'll ride around. Like, no, that's a painful thing for the soul to go through. But getting back to the other thing you were saying about the male female, yeah. So I don't know, I'm not sure about the male female thing. There is an idea of the male side of a soul and the female side of a soul. That idea does exist. But yeah, not sure. There's things to say about this, but I can't go into it at this moment.
Because I thought like 40 days before they're born, Bat Kol goes out and it's split in two, and one becomes male, one becomes female. So I didn't understand how that person could even say that. And I thought that then by marriage they reunite, and then they go back. I would assume that when they go back up, somehow they reunite as well, the soul, or it remains as two souls. But I don't understand why the female part would never get a chance at reincarnation, especially if they didn't do something like you said, she didn't give birth. So the only experience she would have is by attaching herself to somebody else who gives birth in another life. And she would never experience it herself. She would never have that opportunity to come back for that. I wouldn't understand why a woman would be discriminated when Hashem is both male.
I wouldn't call it, by the way, I'm firstly, I'm not sure what this guy was talking about, but I definitely wouldn't call it discriminated, because if anything, it's the opposite. Like, let's just try to remember, we have to flip our minds in terms of how we work, in terms of how we usually think. Like, the idea isn't to come back. The idea is to do what we need to do and finish what we need to do. Remember, the people who accomplish what they need to accomplish are the ones that don't come back, right? The idea isn't to come back. We're coming down here to fix certain things that we haven't fixed up until this point. So what he was trying to say was that there is an idea in the Kabbalah that the woman is kind of dragged down here kind of by the man to be the partner for the man, that really the woman doesn't need it. There is such an idea like this in the Arizal. Don't know. But the idea of no reincarnation or whatever, I'm not sure about that. What you heard, I'm not sure. I can't comment. Again, I can't comment on what someone else is saying that I'm not familiar with. So, and I don't want to say anything negative about it, because I don't know what their intention was, and maybe they know something I don't. So, don't know. I just have to leave it like that. I don't know what else to say. All I can tell you is, like, I'm not familiar with what with what was said. Okay, Leora.
Okay, and what about if someone didn't get married yet? I thought that we were supposed to all have our soulmates, and if so many men, more than 50%, are marrying out to non-Jewish women, what does it mean for Jewish women? What does it mean for Jews in general, and even for our souls, if we were supposed to connect in this lifetime? When the guy connected with someone who's not Jewish, she's not converting, or she had a farce conversion.
Yeah, don't know. We do have to consider, though, that if we're here in this world, our existence here in this world is not confined to one particular role or relationship, right? Like, we have value no matter whether we have whether we're married, not married, whether we have kids, not kids. We have our tafkid, our purpose, that he to do, and even beyond that, forget about our purpose to do. Let's say even we didn't. Who cares? We have opportunity to do grand things. We have opportunity to grow, to connect to God, to bring kedusha into this world, to bring light into this world, and so yeah, especially for women, especially by women, but also by guys, get stuck in this picture of what things need to be, what they should be, what they ought to be, what they must be, what they, all of these words. But let's the only holy thing to do is to stay in the moment and say, okay, what does Hashem want from me right now? What does Hashem want from me right at this moment? And to say, okay, what is in my control to do right now? And that's the only real healthy space to be in, because if not, we just start looking outside of ourselves, outside of our Dalet Amos, outside of what's in our control, and it doesn't serve us,
Okay, thank you. But I'm still wondering what's going to happen to all these wonderful women that are not getting married, and a lot of guys who didn't get married because, time has passed by, and by now they're too scared or too sick to get married. I feel like we really lost a whole generation.
I don't know. I don't know. There's but it's the point. My point is that their value, because you're saying that's it, they're lost. Like, what I'm saying is, no, they have, any person has a ton of worth and value independent of whether or not, according to Judaism, a woman does not need to get married. A man needs to get married much more than a woman needs to get married, according to Judaism. So it doesn't take away from a person's worth or value or what they bring to the world. We all have our avoda, our personal avoda, our personal growth, and the choices that we're making, and the things we can do to be involved with helping others and refining ourselves and bringing good things into the world. And whether or not a relationship exists in our life at any particular time doesn't affect that reality. And so how are these soul things going to work out? Soulmate, not soulmate? I don't know. I always tell people not to get too caught up in the whole soulmate thing. I have articles about this also, that like the people get messed up with the whole soulmate thing, right? Because people get very messed up with it. It's just like, when it comes to all that stuff, you forget about all the the Jewish teachings about it. And then, when it comes to dating and stuff like this, person needs to just ask themselves, okay, who do I like this person? Do I want to see them again? Let's move forward. Forget it, because once people get stuck into the whole, is this person my soulmate? A lot of times people will actually the opposite. A lot of people will be like, they'll have a good connection. They'll call themselves, okay, they'll buy in. Okay, this person's my soulmate. And then certain things will transpire, and the relationship will get a little bit sour. But then since they're so bought in on the soulmate thing, they'll just keep going with it. And that's not good either. And then now, because of the soulmate thing, people are marrying someone who's not treating them well. And if you were to ask them, hey, imagine there was no soulmate, no such thing as soulmates, would you actually want to marry this person? That happens a lot, to be honest. The idea of, thank God I'm blessed with a lot of people, like that's going on. And so anyway,
I don't mean to be argumentative, but
okay.
Whoever's running the chat here, I'm so sorry if I am coming across as argumentative. It's not my intention. I'm just curious. The person who's running the chat wrote to me that sometimes the female soul didn't really want to get married and to help her husband. She didn't really want to help her husband, and therefore she's still single. Is that really something that's true?
Don't know. Anything's possible. By the way, why should a righteous person have to marry a person who's a wicked person? Let's say. Who knows? Don't know. Don't know. Anything's possible. I did see something flash up. Just bear in mind, I'm on a phone, not a computer. I did see some. Are you still with me? Sorry, someone tried to call. I did see something in there about like. Hold on. Let's go through it right now. Why don't we? Yeah, here I just see something like, okay, look, God can sort it out, etc. Something in there, and so you can come back. Hold on. If Hashem can make it work with a couple who aren't technically soulmates. Yeah. It's like. We have to understand when we're talking about these things, we're talking in paradigms, in systems, but this is soul stuff. Stuff's interchangeable, stuff's flowy. People aren't, I don't think people are stuck in the way people think that they're stuck, and even the system I just showed you with the souls and this and that. It's not meant to be locked in. Like it could very well be that God takes a soul from here. This one was waiting for a while and needed certain circumstances, and this one's here, and they get connected and put in one person. And then afterward, they do what they need to do. Afterwards, the soul split in the way that they need to split. We can't get too wrapped up in this stuff. As much as I'm a big fan of this stuff and talking about it and teaching about it or whatever, we can't get so, when it comes to our practical life, we can't get so wrapped up into it that it it handicaps us. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. So beseder. So I do have to, Liora, thank you. I do have to call it here. I do want to answer one more. Thanks for being here, and it's all good. There was one thing that I think I wanted to share. Do the tzaddikim come back? Like we know if the Arizal comes back. So I just want to share with you one idea. There is an idea in the Zohar that says that there is an expression of the soul of Moshe in every generation. And that means to say that in every generation, there's a certain expression of Moshe. That doesn't mean literally his soul. It doesn't mean just the concept of like, there's going to be a leader for every generation. So usually it's taken certainly by the Kabbalists explanation. The idea is that there is a certain expression, a certain ray of the soul of Moshe that comes through that is relevant for every generation. And shows up in certain tzaddikim and certain leaders of the generation. So there is that idea. There's more to say about that, but not for now. Anyway, my friends, I hope this is meaningful. Hope it was informative. Hope it clarified things and didn't confuse too much. My friends, I wish you the best. Have yourself a great, great, great day.